In this video, we're going to be making a staggered bricks quilt. Now this is a nice easy sewing project that's suitable for a beginner to make, as you don't have to worry about matching up seams. Now for our fabric choice, we decided on some fabric that we got in our latest Temu haul, and I'll put a link to the fabric in the description field below, along with how many of the packs you will need. But you could also use scrap fabric you have on hand. Now these fabrics are quite subtle and have a sort of vintage look that I thought would suit this type of quilt, but I could also see this pattern working really well with bold colours. Now our Temu pack had 7 different patterns in the bundle, so I have 7 piles of fabric. However, if you are using scraps or you've cut up some yardage or fat quarters, then you can go with more or less patterns. Now either way, you will need 65 rectangles cut at 9.5 inches by 7.5 inches to complete this quilt. I had to trim mine down to that size because they were a little bigger than what I wanted, plus they weren't all cut to the exact same size. Now to do this I used my new ruler, which I love, and it's huge at 12.5 inches by 24.5, and I'll put a link to it in the description field below. So let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is choose 5 of our rectangles to use as edge pieces for each of the rows. Now this step is important because these edge pieces will create the staggered brick look. I've decided not to use the pretty flower fabrics for those edge pieces, as I want to keep them for the main body of the quilt, so I'm going to go with the plainer fabrics. Now we need to cut each of these 5 pieces in half, so I have cut them through the middle at 4 3/4. I'm using my ruler here to measure the halfway mark, but you could just fold the fabric in half and cut along the crease. Okay, so now we have our 10 edge pieces ready to go. Now we're ready to lay out our fabric. So for the first row, I have placed 6 rectangles and added an edge piece to the end. On the second row, we need to start with an edge piece and then finish with 6 triangles. I'm going to continue doing this down the quilt. And now that it is laid out, you can see that it resembles a brick wall and how those edge pieces have helped to create that look. And once you're happy with the design, it's time to sew the quilt together. So we'll start with the first row, and I like to sew the blocks together in sets of 2 and then sew everything together to form a row, and I'll do that for each of the rows. Now that we have the rectangles sewn into rows, we can join the rows together. So I'll take the top row and place it over the second row, and I'll sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam. And what I like to do is to pin each end and then give the fabric a tug and pin in the centre, and then continue pinning along the edge. I just find this helps to centre everything up nicely. So, and then I will continue up the quilt sewing the rows together in lots of 2. Now this is just how I like to sew my quilts. If you prefer to just keep adding the rows, then by all means do so. Now once all the rows are sewn together, you can see that they've formed the quilt top. And there we have it, our quilt is complete. At this point you could add a border or 2, but I quite like the brick wall look on its own. So now you just need to add some batting and some backing and finish off your quilt. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you are looking for the same fabric as we've used, there is a link in the description below, and also all the instructions are on the website. So catch you next time.